Hello and welcome to this new Android development tutorial. This is part 4 on how to make a calendar application for Android. In the previous tutorials we learned how to set up the calendar, how to do some basic operations, and in this tutorial we'll continue improving our calendar application. So let's now run the app to check how it's behaving. Okay, so this is the app, this is the emulator. As you can see, when we press one day, this kind of UI is shown. If you write something there and click on save, it saves, as you can see. And now in the previous tutorial we had the problem of if we go back 1 month or something like this, it was still showing them, but now it's not, so that's awesome. Okay, that's great. The problem is, okay, now let's try to write something on April 3rd. So you're gonna say hello, and I'll click on save. Okay, and I will now go to May 3rd. Okay, and we have this thing right there. And if I go to April 3rd, I have the thing that I don't want, so this thing right here. So we have to be able to store more information because we're using the same days regardless of the month. Actually, the same days in terms of amount of days, right? Okay, so how can we fix this? Well, first of all, we can try changing and having, since the largest unit of, let's say, the largest unit of the date is years, we want to do everything in function of that. Okay, so basically we should be able to access so years, how many months in a year is 12, and how many days in a year we have 365, so 365 days. In this way we will be able to access all of this. Okay, so if we try run this in our mind, when we click on the save text button, we're saving this to days index the current day. So remember, days index just points how many days or how many text or how many strings we have stored. Okay, if it's 0, then we have 0. If it's 1, then we have 1. This is kind of the count, the amount of elements, the amount of strings we have stored in our application. So that's what day index is for. So when we click on the save text button, what happens is that the days at days index is set to current day, months at month index is set to current month, and year at year index is set to current year. Now, all of these are similar. The problem here is that sometimes we will need the same amount of things for every one of these guys. I mean, for example, if we have a year, let's say 2018, okay? So if we have that year, we can have lots of dates in that year, namely 365 on that year. But we are using all of these guys to store just one thing. So this means that for every day, we're also storing a month, and we're also storing a year, right? So this should be changed to the amount of things that we have. Okay, so we will create a final integer that will define the limit of how many kind of days we use. So I'm gonna say final int number of days, and that we can store. Maybe we'll set these to, what about 2000, right? Sorry, 2000 right here. So we're gonna say new integer, and here we're gonna say number of days, and month will also be number of days, and the year will also be number of days. So this is a very primitive way, but this actually teaches us a lot how to use these very simple ways, kind of a very basic ways of building applications, right? Okay, so now that we have these, we can say we can avoid doing all of these, and we will create just one index. Okay, and okay, so instead of days index, month index, and all of that, I just create one index, right? So I will call it index. Okay, of course we don't have that yet, but we will create it now. So index, and after these I'll set index plus plus. Okay, awesome. So right here, instead of these, we're gonna set just index. Okay, great. Now let's check if we have some errors right here. So we have here days index, which we don't want. We only want index. So index, what index tells us is how many objects do we have stored, right? So as global variables, we only have 4. We have current year, current month, current day, and we have index. Then inside the onCreate method, we have all of these. We define the number of days, which in this case is 2000. So we do the same for days, months, and years, because this is how we, for every day, we start with a month and with a year. So this is how we do this. And inside this for loop, when we change the date, inside the onSelected date change listener, what we're gonna do is, well, first we're checking the days, right? So we are checking the days, and we will be checking also the months and also the years. So that's useful. So this is basically how to use loops in order to find a kind of a primitive way of finding these things. Okay, so can we do this better? Can we improve this a bit more? So basically, if we go back to the application right here, we can say that, well, we had every object we have here is a day, so a number, it's inside a month, and it's inside a year. Okay, so every one of them has all those kind of things, right? So how can we make maybe this a little bit easier to read or to access? Because right now we're using one array of days, one array for months, and another for years. But can we do it better? Well, yeah, maybe. We can maybe combine these 3 into one, you know? Even if I add days with months and years, I won't pass the limit of an integer, right? So there's lots of kind of ways of doing this. Or I can also create an array of bytes, so I won't even pass the byte limit, right? So yeah, that's basically what we can do to optimize this. But now that we have done these changes, I will run the application again. So we have cleaned up the code a bit. And now we will check if it still works or not, and if we need to do some adjustment or something like that. So now here, let's click on May 13, and I will write something. I'll write 13. I will click on save. Oops, and we have an error. So let's see what's going on. So we had a crash. If we go to error here in Logcat, let's see if we can get what happened. Okay, index 1 and size 0. Okay. So we are incrementing this. We have to increment this after we add the calendar string. So we will move this index plus plus right there. Okay. If you want, you can move it as the last line of the onClick method, right? But it doesn't really matter. But it must be after the calendar strings that add method. So let's now run again and check if it works or not. Okay, so 13, I click on this, I will write 13, I will click on save, I will click 14, I will go back to 13, and yeah, I will go 14, I click on save, I will go 15, back to 14, 13, 14, 15, it's working inside 1 month. Now let's test it with different months. For example, go back to April 3rd, April 13. I'll go and put 13A to make sure this is April, and 14A, and I'll save. Did I save the 13 one? Yeah. Oops, did I? So 13A, I'll click on save. 14, it's 14A, but it's not kind of saving exactly what I wanted to do. Okay, so what's going on here? Well, we have to think about this for a moment. Okay, what's going on here? We have to clean this up even more in order for us to understand it better. Okay, so what we're doing here is that right here we are adding the current day, the current month, and the current year. So right here we check if months at j equals current month. Okay, when we're checking this, we're getting I. So this is the problem here. The problem here is that we should not get I, because when we say get I, we're getting the number of the day. Okay, so the day number something. And we don't really want to do that. We want to get the month and the day. So we have to fix this for loop to be smart enough to know to search inside of the month, right? So maybe what we actually have to do is we have to first check for the month, but we also have to store this in a more clear way, because here we are storing just one after another, right? So for example, it checks something here. It checks for the day, for the days, and for example, let's say it's 13. Okay, so it will go and 13 is equal to current day. Okay, and then what we'll do here is checks for months, and month j equals current month. If it finds 1 month that equals current month, but here I have to say if month is current month and I, so here I have to have a double check, right? So here I have to also check if the index I in this for loop corresponds to the same day, right? So how to do this? Well, we're gonna say end month, and actually days at j equals current day, and what I have to get here will be the string that corresponds to that, and what corresponds to that will be, in this case, J, if I'm not wrong. Okay, I think I'm not wrong, but if I'm wrong, then we can fix this later. Okay, so let's run it and check if it works or not. Okay, so now I'm running this, and let's click on 13. I will say 13A, or actually M, which is May. I actually type May 13. I'll click on save. I will go to 14. I'll type May 14. I'll also click on save. So now I'll hide these, and 13 is May 13, 14 is May 14. If I go back to April, 15, 14, 13. Now 13 here, I'll say April 13. I'll click on save. I'm gonna go 14. I'm gonna say April 14. I'll also click on save. If I go back to April 13, I have April 13, and April 14, I have April 14. Now if I go to May and I click on May 13, I have actually May 13, and here May 14, which is exactly what we expect. So apparently it's working, right? So it's working great right now, which is nice. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is basically how we do a quick check here, but it won't work in a different year. So if I go to something like, so April 14, 2019, we have April 14. So I'll go to April 14, 2018 to see what happens. So April 16 and 14, and it shows this because it's not checking years. Okay, so I have to check the years too. So how do I do that? Well, I have to check the years, right? So here we're checking until 30. Okay, but we don't want to do that. We want to check until the number, until index actually, right? Okay, so we will change this 30 with index in order for us to not waste computational time. So we are checking only for the existing objects. So I check in both, I change those hard-coded numbers with index on both for loops. And now I will run again to check if it still works or not. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay. So for example, if I click here and I write May 15, M15, save, and M16, save. If I go back to M15 and M16, it works great. And now a lot of software development is really testing this. So if we go back to April 13, 14, 15, so I'm gonna say A15. Okay, April 15, I will hide this. 16, it shows nothing. 15, it shows this. Okay, now if I go to May 15, it says M15. Now, something else that we should do is that, for example, if I'm on 14 and I write, for example, M14 and I click on save, what should happen is that this is erased, which is useful, but what should really happen is this should be hidden. Okay, so this should be hidden. So let's now hide it. Okay, so let me see how can we hide it. So we want to hide the day content when we click on save. So you're gonna say right here, after we increase the index, you're gonna say day content dot set visibility, and we'll set this to gone. Okay. Okay, so now let's run the app to check if it works. Okay, so I'm May 13, I'll write M13, I'll click on save, and this is, as you can see, is gone. Okay, which is of course awesome. Now, as I was telling you, we still have to do the years feature. So we have to create another for loop inside this one, right? So let's do it, right? So yeah, so you're gonna say for int I, or can we change with age, for example, int age equals 0, age less than index, and age plus plus. We will open this for loop, and we will put this for loop inside this other for loop. So in this case, now we have 3 different for loops, but inside this for loop, we want to check if, so we're gonna say if years at I equals, actually at age, if years at age equals current year, okay, okay, and then we're gonna go and get this for loop inside this if statement, and now basically this should work for years as well. So let's try to test this with years. So we have something wrong here apparently. Okay. If they, so let me check what I did here. Yeah, so I made a mistake, but now it's fixed. It's a kind of typo error. Okay, now let's try to run this and check if it works or not. So now we're here, so I'm gonna say May 13. I'm gonna say May 13, 2019. Okay, you can put a dot, maybe May 13, 2019, and I'll click on save, and now I will go to May 13, 2018. So as you can see here it is, but I will go to May 13, 2018. Okay, May 13, 2018, and as you can see nothing is shown there. If I type May.13.2018 and I click on save, then as you can see here it is the May 13, 2019 in this case. So we have some sort of an error. So this is 18. We save it and we go and it says 2019. So we have sort of error right here. So let's go back and check what this error is about. Okay, so if age equals current year, okay, are we storing current year? Yeah, apparently we are. So what's going on here? So we have then this if statement, if years at age equals current year. Okay. Then int I, okay, also working. Okay, something that is not working as expected. So let's try to run it again just to to make sure what's going on. So May 13, 2019, I'm gonna say May 2019. I'll click on save. Okay, and now I'll go and say May 13, 2020, for example. And nothing exists here. Now we want to save something like M2020. Click on save, click 1313, and when I save it, it apparently works, but when I retrieve it, it's retrieving the 2019 version. So the problem here is that years at age, this age should also be modified or get here, right? So instead of J, if I'm not wrong, what we have to do is use H. Well, apparently yes, but here we have to do something else. Apart from checking these, we're gonna say and. So months at J is current month. Okay. And days at J is current day. And I'll also have to say if years at J, sorry, if years at J equals current year. Okay, so now we will try to run this again and check if it finally works, hopefully, or not. Okay, so May 3rd, 2019, 2019, I'll click on save. I'll go to May 13, 2020. May 13, 2020, and I'll say M2020. Okay, click on save. As you can see here, this is. And yeah, now it has been fixed. So M2020. Now I'll go back to, oops, it's April, but well, I just forgot that, right? So I'm gonna go again, May 13, 2020, and I'll say M2020, and I'll say save. Okay, 14, M2020. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to May 13, 2019 to check if it still preserves the 2019 thing. So yeah, so now it's working, and now our application is able to access different days, different months, and different years. So kind of complete. Now it is complete. Now, depending on your usage, you can say, I won't write 2000 days. I won't do that. That's too much. So maybe I will write maybe 400 or something. You can really change this. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so right now we have this for loop that it's actually running great as far as we know. Of course, we can change this later for a different data structure. One data structure that will go first to years, and then to months, and then to the days, and so on, right? We can do that if we want to, but we don't really have to. And this way is kind of simpler, and also kind of exposes us to more procedural thinking, which is always good when you're learning. After you know more, you can use any data structure you want. But just for the purpose of learning, I think this is awesome to know how indexes, how for loops work, the logic from one for loop to another. And that, I think, is awesome. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you in the next one. Bye.